How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. I'm doing excellent. It is amazing to have you back on the show again, Mr. Chris Morrissey, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, first of all, let me give you the proper introduction. I know we spoke about introductions the other day on social media. Okay. And how amazing you are, Adam. Listen, without any further ado, first of all, welcome to...
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I absolutely. Listen, first of all, last time we spoke, we were on Hotline Radio, which is where we were before, but now the great news is that we've moved to 12 digital now, and I'd like to be the first one to introduce you to the 12 experience right here with Keith Harris.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Listen, Chris, how long has it been since we spoke last time? Almost 2 years now.
Yeah, I would say probably about 2 years, because that's when we were Trick of the Woods. Heavy Makeup, my last film, was hitting the theaters, and that was November of 2017?
Something like that. Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations on the success of Heavy Makeup as well, and the amazing cast that you had in that film also.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a really fun experience, and everybody had a great time, not only making it, but just the fact that it hit the theaters, and we had a really good turnout. So
And let me also start by telling everyone too, Chris has written and produced as well as directed several award-winning feature films. You know what I mean? So, he's a creative guy. He's been at this giving us his best work for quite some time now. What I will do later on is post one of the past interviews that we had together, Chris. But, first of all, let me give the people a briefing by having you just start out telling them where your passion from filmmaking came from originally.
Pretty much growing up.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
What happened?
I heard something on the phone. I don't know what it was.
Yeah. Bells and whistles are going off everywhere, but don't worry about that. Carry on.
No, basically, I grew up always loving film from being, I don't know, I can remember maybe being 5 years old and going to see movies for the first time, and that was just the big thing. My parents would take me to the movies after school, or when I would come home from school, it would be okay, do your homework and you can sit down and watch a VHS tape or whatever. So I was always just flooded with different films and different genres. So I kind of got an early taste of what's out there in the film world, and that just gave me so many ideas from such an early start that I wanted to be an actor. And then dabbling in acting, in my teenage years, that's what got me more interested in storytelling and writing scripts and just, being more involved, making things happen.
Right. Yeah, I was actually gonna ask that is, did the acting come first for you, and then you just said to yourself, okay, this is something I want to do. When you first figured out that you wanted to go into the film industry, what was your first topic, or what was the first plot to the film you wanted to make?
I remember what actually made me want to get into it was I had gotten an agent, and I never was getting sent out on auditions. And then I had a lot of friends. I was going to an acting school, and I would ask them in class, hey, do you have an agent? Do you actually get sent out on auditions? I don't understand. It seems so hard to get an agent.
Right.
Now what? If they're not sending you out, what are you supposed to do? So a lot of the other actors would be oh, I submit myself through some of the acting magazines like Backstage West. And I just thought, it was so pointless to actually have an agent if they're not going to actually send you on auditions. So myself and some of the other actors, we would do a weekly sit-down thing where we would go through all the different advertising in the magazines of different auditions and different production companies that were making new films, and we would actually submit ourselves and like sit there and hand label like the envelopes and stuff our headshots and just try to send as many things out that the agents weren't doing, hoping that somebody would see our pictures and offer us an audition. And it actually worked, and I was able to book a couple auditions without my agent. And I started to see that, the more you kind of have control over, your own future, you're going to get more places because you're actually physically putting the work into it. So I started to kind of manage some of my friends that were actors, and I would start submitting them myself. And then I started to say, like, you know what? Why don't we make our own film, and I'll just go ahead and cast you guys, because then we have control over it. And of course, everyone loved the idea, but then they were like, how are you going to do that? Like, how are you going to raise all this money to make a film, and how are you going to get a studio behind you, and how are you going to get like agents to consider like looking at the script or getting you celebrities to be in the film? And I had no idea. I just knew that I was gonna do it. I was gonna make it happen. I'll figure it all out, and just start learning what I needed to learn. And so I never went to film school. I just went ahead and started writing my own script without even knowing how to write a script. I just based it off of knowing the format of how most scripts were, and I would look at different examples and go to the library and get books on screenwriting and stuff, and I never really even read those books in full. I just kind of looked at like the little basics of how to get get everything in the right format, and I knew how to tell a story just from basic logical stuff that I learned in school. But so I would tailor make these stories towards the other actors that I was going to have play these roles. So my very first idea was just, like a quirky comedy about a bunch of LA people, like, going to a party. And then that turned into kind of, I was like, it needs something more. I need to like spruce this up. It can't just be about people going to a party. So I ended up turning it into a horror film, like, that there was a killer stalking these people that were going to a party, and then it just kind of evolved from there. And my very, very first project ended up being Superstar Female Serial Killer, which became this whole like murder mystery, crazy, campy cult classic.
Andy Warhol's, which most people know well. Did working at that magazine help you out with script writing?
Yeah, that's actually where it all began, because I was working at Interview Magazine, and of course, while I was there, like I would get a lot of the work done, and then there'd be gaps where I'm just kind of sitting there waiting for more work to be put on my desk. So to kill time, I started like kind of writing my script while I was there, and it just kind of evolved from that, where I ended up writing maybe 2 or 3 scripts, just in my spare time, and presented them to people who were familiar with format and everything, and they're like, oh wow, like, these scripts seem like you've been doing this for a long time. Did you go to some kind of, script writing classes? Yeah. And I was like, no, I just learned this kind of on my own, just following like what other scripts, how they laid things out, and I got a lot of good feedback. So I felt very confident in my script writing,
right,
from the minute I basically did it, because it just seems so easy to me. It actually seems a lot easier to write a script than it does like writing, like a novel or something, because you're having to be so, with like novels and stuff, you've got to come up with, make it so lyrical, and
right.
With script you can kind of just put the basics and be like, okay, here you go. This is what the scene needs, and this is the dialogue.
Right.
and leave it up to the actors to dive deep and dissect it all, and then, you know, you can find out if they're on the same wavelength as you when it comes to breaking everything down.
Right. Now, okay, let's jump into the juicy, because you're in pre-production for another film right now, as a matter of fact. And let me, if I'm not mistaken, that is called, what is the name of that film?
Okay, well, basically there's 3 projects kind of going on right now. There is, we're wrapping up Cher Cherie's directorial debut, which I'm co-producing, and that film is called Hollywood Baby Doll. So we're almost done filming, and she's going to be, you know, working on post-production so she can try to premiere it at the beginning of next year.
Okay.
I wasn't as involved in that film as my other projects because I'm, you know, it's her project, and I am more like kind of giving advice and, you know, overseeing, like making sure the production runs smoothly. But this is a really exciting film, and I'm sure she would definitely love to come on and talk about it because it's like her total pet project, and you know, you don't get a lot of female directors in Hollywood, so she's trying to kind of break that glass ceiling.
Okay. Trying to break that barrier.
So
I'll ask you a question a little later on. Is there still the stigma, you know, as far as, you know, women are concerned in Hollywood, if they're getting their proper rights and respect, you know, for their contributions to the industry. But Atomic Babylon.
Yeah, that's so as soon as we're done filming Cher's project, which is going to be like, you know, later this month, I'm actually jumping right into my full-on next project, which I've written, I'm producing, directing, and, you know, it's going to be a full-on Chris Morrissey project.
Okay. Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Let me rewind real quick, because you said Cher. You mean Cher Cherie?
Yeah, Cher Cherie.
Oh, wow. Holy cow, I didn't catch on to that. Holy moly. Oh, my God, I know that's going to be great. Yeah, we definitely got to get her on.
Oh, yeah, this is such a, it's so cool to see her, you know, as a director, because, you know, it was something that she never really wanted to do, and I would always tell her, like, you know, you should direct sometime. Like, you really have, like, you know, I can see you have your own kind of vision, and it was something she hesitated for a long time, and she finally was like, you know what, I think I want to jump back there and direct, and she's amazing. She's a great director.
Well, you know, Cher has this chutzpah about her. You know, she's a glowing, exciting person, so I can imagine with her directing it, you know, how good she would be a director, just being able to tell the performers, you know, putting that, you know, adding that extra life to it. So, yeah, that's going to be amazing. Wow.
Yeah, so during the whole time she's been filming her project, I was writing about 3 different scripts, trying to figure out which one I'm going to do as my next project, but I decided Atomic Babylon is the one. I really feel like it's time for this story to kind of, it's pretty much my version of like Hollywood Babylon.
And that's always exciting. What do you love about this film?
You know, it's just all the years of living, you know, since I'm native of LA and growing up in Hollywood and just being around different, you know, actors and artists and just people that are all hustling to try to, you know, become famous or to make their mark in the industry. I feel like I've seen, heard, and experienced so many different things that I need to put all of this into a movie.
Oh, wow.
And everybody's always telling me, well, why don't you write a book, or why don't you, you know, like do like a blog or something that you can just tell all your Hollywood stories. And so I kind of basically took 4 different characters that the film focuses on, and each one of them is going through different things in the industry. Some are at different levels, in different levels of success in the industry. So it's kind of telling 4 different stories, but they're really my stories with the different characters kind of playing me.
Right.
but there's going to be, you know, a lot of stuff that I think people will definitely identify with. If anybody out there is, you know, trying to become an actor or trying to, you know, be a filmmaker, or they want to move to LA and become a star, you know, like as everybody does, there's going to be so many things that I feel people are going to get out of this film that they can either identify with, or it's almost like a warning of like, this is what you're going to go through if this is what you really want.
Right. Because there's that side of the grit, the happiness, and the hurt that comes along with the struggle, you know, in Hollywood. Now, do you think that there are some people who are going to feel like, hey, Chris, you're letting some cats out the bag, or there's some things they weren't supposed to know, you know, or
I think in a way that I've always been telling different stories to people who are always like, oh, you know, oh, what was it like working at Interview Magazine, or what was it like, you know, doing this or making these films or working with this celebrity.
Yeah.
And it's like now I can actually put it all in a film. So it's like, you know, it's one of those, if you watch the film, you're going to be like blown away and like, oh my God, this really happened? Like you actually experienced this? Or like, you know, and also I'm taking some stories of people I know, like some things that they've been through.
Right.
And kind of throwing it into the film. So there's, you know, it definitely is, I think that's going to be like a great way to get people into the theater. You know, you're going to definitely see like an expose of Hollywood that you probably won't get in most studio films.
Well, with that script...
So, yeah, I will definitely let out some secrets, but you guys got to come see the film to get them revealed.
And you know what, to talk about the performers a bit, you know, the script itself, it seems like there's obviously going to be some serious moments in there. You know, when you guys were putting together the cast for this, how, you know, did you kind of just, you know, reach out for the auditions and see who could, you know, fill the bill, or did you have somebody set in mind? Like, who's starring?
Well,
do you know yet?
So I definitely have some people that I've written roles for, but I'm actually still in the middle. Like, we haven't fully cast the film yet, so I'm going to be holding auditions, and that'll be coming up probably in late July. So people here in Los Angeles, you know, I'll be holding some. I'll probably do some open auditions, and then, you know, I have some people in mind that I haven't worked with yet, but I definitely want to bring them in and audition them because I do have some roles.
Okay, so that makes it even that makes the pie even more sweeter, because this means that, you know, this script in general, it really hasn't been leaked so far. You know, like the idea and your work is there, but you know, if you haven't picked the cast yet, that means this is still going to be exciting to even the performers who you do choose.
Yeah, and you know, I may do what I did last time with Heavy Makeup, since Heavy Makeup had a murder mystery.
Yeah.
I only gave the actual actors their scenes, so I might do that again with this film.
I totally remember that. Like, you know what? Okay, let me vision for a second. Yeah, that would be exciting too. But you know what? How does that turn out exciting for the performers itself? Like, okay, because here's the thing. You know, the actors and actresses, they always have to be on point. Okay, they're doing their job. What is it like? And as a matter of fact, I'll probably, I can ask you, but I'll ask some of the actors in your films too. I want to know what it's like to get caught off surprise with a line that you did not see coming. You know what I mean? Because you still got to save face either way, right? Like, did you guys have to do a bunch of different takes, or were people handling what was thrown at them pretty well?
You know what? I think it actually kept them more open. Like, you know, if any of the actors had done any kind of improv before, like for them, because I know a lot of soap operas work that way. Like, you actually sometimes get the scene that you're going to do like the night before, and you don't have much time to rehearse. So I think it kind of kept everyone on their toes. And it was more challenging for them because, you know, they would basically show up kind of knowing what they're going to do, but, you know, some of them even were given the actual scene that they were about to do, like, 2 hours before we shot it.
Right.
But I tried to definitely fill them in as much as I could about what was going to be going on.
Yeah.
And I was able to luckily cast actors that did have experience with like improv and stuff like that. But everything that I write is very scripted, and I do like the actors to follow it as much as possible. But
right.
I do allow a little bit of like leeway when it comes to like if they want to throw in a little bit more, or sometimes I'll keep the camera rolling when the scene's finished,
right,
and just kind of let them continue on. Like what is their like how would their conversation continue if they don't have the rest of the dialogue? So I would do that and it'd be like pausing for a minute and then be like,
yeah.
Are we supposed to stop now? And I'm like, no, keep going.
Right.
And I actually got some good dialogue just from doing stuff like that.
Right.
But most of it ended up on deleted scenes, which, will be on the DVD. So,
you being an LA native, you have every right to make that call according to what you've seen in the industry and just there in general. When you put the title when you created a title and you used the term Babylon, are you at all concerned with people may say, hey, why did you call it that or put that in there? Or is there that sense of, you also have the following of people who feel like, hey, bad is good. So there's that excitement to it. What way, what way were you going with that? Or were you, are you, like, how do you think that's going to turn out? Or?
Well, I always feel like LA in people's minds that don't live in LA, like they want to move to LA because they feel like it's paradise.
Right.
They want to come because of the beach, and they're gonna come and just be discovered and become an overnight superstar.
Right.
So I feel like Babylon, which they say is like paradise, I feel like that's my
like bad is
my
good.
My alternate name for Hollywood. And then the atomic part of it, I feel like everybody's in this huge hurry to like be an overnight success. That is like, people are actually like going crazy. And that emoji where you see like, it looks like the head exploding and there's like an atomic cloud on top.
I use that all.
That's what I'm picturing. Like that's the people in LA. It's like they're these, in their mind they're going to become this huge famous person, but it's like they get to LA and they hit the ground and it's just like all these doors are slammed on their faces and it's like then they're just ready to like explode and go crazy. So I feel like this is just the perfect title for like LA. It
is. I love the title, and you know what? And see, here's the thing about it too. There's this excitement behind it, and I think that's the good part. I actually like the way that it's hard to explain for me, I guess, but there is that sense of bad is good because let's be honest, a lot of people expect excitement when you talk about that lifestyle in Hollywood. It's definitely not for the weak or the faint. You understand? So to describe it in that way is what it is. I feel exciting and there's a lot of fun as well because we don't want because at the same time we don't want people to get confused and thinking that people who go there, they do have a hard time, but there's a lot of excitement and there's that dream of making it which carries people on. I mean, Hollywood is a place of big dreams. You know what I mean? And the examples that I said, I mean, let's be honest, without you guys, we wouldn't have such a whole lot of great entertainment. You know what I mean? It comes from everywhere, but at the same time, LA and Hollywood has been the forefront for a long time. So, with that respect to it, there's the well-rounded sense of it all. There's the heartbreak, as we spoke about, that'll be in the film. There's the happiness that goes in the film. You know what I mean? And there's the hard work. So I think you did a great job in describing it because you're right. People want to become overnight successes, and at the same time, you've got to be able to stay awake. It's hard to get any rest. So.
Yeah, it's so funny because like during the last 2 years since we did, the last show, so much has changed in the industry and things have progressed just in general, like with phones and all the apps and the way people like go about things. I mean, I was at like a business dinner recently, and it's like people were sitting at the same table, but they're texting each other under the table, like saying, "Wrap it up," or like things like that. And it's like it's just so funny to me now. It's like the way people communicate.
Right.
It's all through like technology and the phones and. In the industry now, people are heading into like virtual reality and, with stuff like Snapchat and Instagram with adding those bunny and dog ears and all that kind of stuff. It's like, there's just so much kind of evolving and changing, in the film industry that you really have to think outside the box. So I feel like making Atomic Babylon, making this film is actually sorry, I almost said the wrong thing.
You got all these projects going on, you try to keep up with them.
Yeah, I was like, I'm so used to when I'm talking about Cher Cherie's film, I'm like Hollywood Baby Doll, because the titles are a little bit similar, I almost feel like, oh wait, did I just say the right one?
Yeah.
Atomic Babylon, like I feel like this is the perfect time to tell this story about Hollywood, and before things change even more, like I kind of got to get this in now.
Yeah.
Because the other scripts I was working on were like very like like comedy, like about dating and stuff like that. So it's like this story about Hollywood is like very now, and it's like the perfect time to tell the story. So the other stories can wait for a while because that's not going to change anytime soon.
Is it okay? Now, Atomic Babylon is there going to be any comedy in it, or is this going to kind of stick to a strict serious focus, or?
No, you know what? I feel like it's almost like dark comedy because I feel like the situations the characters are going through and the way some of the dialogue is going to be a lot of like ironic situations and kind of a lot of in-jokes when it comes to the industry.
Yeah.
There's so many things like just in general, like the way people handle even now, like just with acting and going on auditions and stuff, like there's a certain kind of lingo going on. And it's just so funny to me to hear the way people kind of talk about their daily, like, oh, this is what I'm doing today. And it's just like this whole, like a lot of cliches and just new lingo. And it's like, I just have to put this all in the film. So the script is very, I made sure to be very detailed with like some of this stuff. So when we're actually filming it, I think it's going to just on its own become funny. But I would say it's more of like a dramedy.
Are you going to have some lines in there for yourself, or are you going to make an appearance?
Oh yeah, I definitely, I always have to make my little Hitchcock cameo.
Yeah.
I have a couple ideas of what I want to do. I actually was going to play a full-on role with this one, but I think I'll just do something small, just to make a quick appearance.
Like
I don't want to. I want to focus more on these other characters. But yeah, no, I definitely have something in mind where I'm going to pop in at some point in the film.
Now, you guys are looking for a 2020 release. How are you thinking about the film festivals? I'm assuming you're probably going to do some submissions, or?
Yeah, I think because we're technically going to start shooting in October.
Okay.
So if we can wrap by December, probably shoot for October and November, and then wrap in December. The editing and post production hopefully will be all done by like February. I'm assuming. Because the other thing about the film is there's a lot of music involved, so it's like I want to make sure I like to handpick and curate all the different songs that I'm going to be using on the soundtrack, and hopefully have a soundtrack release like with Heavy Makeup. But yeah, no, I hope the film will be all ready for spring of 2020 and do a big old launch, and whether it's either at a film festival or maybe just do something here in LA and then take it from there. But I definitely will be making sure that it's something big because this film is going to need to, I feel like this film's going to really make a big mark in the indie film world,
right,
just because of the subject alone.
And especially, like, as you say too, especially right now, it seems like it's in some sort of transition period with the things that are going on there. But wow, listen, how can I want to let everybody know where they can check out the websites, or where they can go check and watch Heavy Makeup, where they can order and find that as well.
Well, actually, the cool thing about Heavy Makeup is, in order to build more hype for Atomic Babylon and some of the other projects, I'm actually going to be doing some theater screenings of Heavy Makeup and even Trick of the Witch later this year. Probably for Trick of the Witch, do it around Halloween, and I'm actually, for August, going to do a Heavy Makeup screening at the theater in downtown LA. We're going to kind of have a little launch party, maybe do like a teaser trailer to play in front of Heavy Makeup,
right,
to build the word. And then I'm working with different artists, got a couple musicians that might perform. I actually have a reggaeton artist that has a new song. His name's Alexis Solano, and he has a new song called 1234.
Okay.
He's actually going to be doing like a live performance, and we are actually going to probably tie something in for that at one of the events. And then I'm working also with Joe Wheeler again in London. He's going to help out with the soundtrack, and we're going to.
Oh yeah, he's a monster. Joe Wheeler's an animal on the music department. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing. We all actually want to get. We're going to do some screenings of Heavy Makeup and Trick of the Witch over in London. We had talked about that, so that's one of the things on the little to-do list, is to do some, international screenings to kind of get more, it's great, having stuff in LA and New York, but we just need to kind of break the other side and get into Europe and London and all those places. Japan would be perfect.
Right, because there's a market out there.
Yeah, and I feel like, I just know the audience is going to eat up these films because, they love indie film, they love horror, they love comedy. I think it's just the perfect places just to show the film. So that's one thing I definitely am working on for, later this year. Gosh, just a bunch of different things going on. And then we also, I'm working with a new filmmaker, which you actually are going to be talking. His name's Emmanuel Osorio.
Okay.
And he's got his film Blase LA, which I'm actually co-producing that in the meantime while I'm doing my film.
Is he really 19? He's 19 years old.
Yes, and it's so cool because his way of looking at film and just the way he has a Quentin Tarantino flair to his work. Really very LA, very just the lingo, the dialogue, everything about his project is really, really cool. And it's just kind of exciting to see, here working with all these different filmmakers over the years, here's somebody that literally is just busting through the doors of Hollywood, and I really feel like he's going to be, making a lot of big waves in the industry, just being the age he is and the ideas that he has. It's this is somebody that, has the mind frame of a 30-year-old filmmaker that's been, studying film for all this time or something. But yeah, he's got some really, really cool stuff in the works. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing the story and hearing the storyline from him as well. I was doing some reading. It sounds extremely interesting. Look, listen. So what we'll do is we'll make sure we keep things posted. Everybody, I want you to know that you'll be able to hear this conversation between Chris Morrissey and I in its full entirety on the 1212 Digital website as well. Listen, Chris, is there, other than the places that we plan to post, is there anywhere that people can go check you out or follow your work? Do you want the Facebook page given out or?
I would say right now I'm most active on Instagram.
Right.
So my Instagram handle is at Chris Morrissey Film.
Okay.
And then I actually have a website, but it needs to be updated, and that's chrismorrisseyfilms.com.
Okay.
And
I can be Facebook and people that are if there's anybody in LA that is interested in like auditioning, we'll be doing some castings like in July. Okay. So they can direct message me on Facebook and Instagram, and I'll definitely let them know when we have open auditions. And yeah, but definitely Instagram is probably where I'm most active, and I'll be posting a lot of updates there. And then just keep an eye on social media. I do need to be more. I need to go on Twitter and stuff more. I barely go. Yeah, you like me, man. I tell you what, I don't want to call myself old school, and I shouldn't because of the line of work I'm in. But for me, I love these sites. I love these social media sites because they keep everybody in the new and the how. But I'm just not as savvy as everybody else. You know what I mean? I'm trying to click basics, so.
I just went to a digital Hollywood convention, which that was like kind of the theme of the whole thing. All they talk about pretty much is nowadays that's your outlet. You have so many like Instagram, Snapchat, all those places. That's where everybody is getting their audience. So it just reminded me I have to be more active because I did take like a whole year off of, barely going on Facebook, and I just now have been on it in the last week. And it's like a half of the stuff that I see on the timeline. I'm just like, who are these people? Like, what is all this that I'm reading? Like, I just don't know. So it's like I need to be more active on them. But yeah, Instagram is probably the most up to date.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. I didn't shoot. I went through the same thing. Listen, Chris, it's wonderful talking to you. Look, this can't be the last time because, you're in pre-production of this film now, but once the cast is decided, we've got to come back on and talk about this again, though.
Yes, definitely. And I was actually thinking of starting like a little director's blog. When we start shooting the film, I might do little like video updates or like a diary blog kind of thing while I'm making the film. And I was thinking that'd be a perfect place to have like different cast members and other people that are jumping on board on the project, do little interviews and have them talk about it. So we'll definitely have to talk more, and got some cool little surprises in the works, which you and I talked about. So we'll have to announce those.
Right, and I love getting inside the madness of the minds of the performers and just what they're in and what zone they step into when it's time to get in front of the camera. I love that, and just understanding because there's so many different angles to be able to learn from and to what's inside the performer's mind when they go into taking a role and how they transform, and it never gets old, and it's never always a parallel as to how they all do it. Everybody's unique in their own way. So yeah, I'm looking forward to tapping into the mind. So
that's awesome.
Absolutely. Listen, Chris, look, man, we love you. Take care. Do your thing. Everybody also pay attention to, because we'll be talking to Emmanuel soon about his amazing movie coming up. I love the title too, but I'm gonna wait till he says it to you. It's an amazing title. Atomic Babylon.